We've been through a lot from our days at the fraternity to even being roommates. I wanted Nick to share his journey because he's in the beginning stages of really taking off in his journey, and it's such a relatable time for those that may be listening. We often forget what effort we put into things once we get to where we are in the future, and we often don't hear about it from those that have quote unquote made it. So without much further ado, here is my connection and interaction with Nick Rizzo. You're listening to Hustle Culture, a podcast that shows you how to take your hustle to the next level. I'm Jordan Glickman, a 24-year-old homeless entrepreneur who's constantly looking for a better way. Whether it be maximizing work-life balance while trying to reach my first 7 figures, or taking advantage of credit card points and biohacking my way to optimal health and efficiency, I'm all about it. Regardless if you're an entrepreneur or not, I invite you to join me in my journey of constant self-development. Join me and my guest as we deliver real value and actionable steps to embrace and make the most out of your hustle. So Nick, thanks for coming on the show and for being able to take some time out of your day or your evening to share your experiences and a little bit of your story, because I find that your story is a good one and it's a really interesting one, given that you have a current job and you've been working on this side hustle of yours now for quite some time. So if you don't mind, for the audience, I've already done a little bit of an intro about you, but if you could share more about yourself, how old you are, what got you into what you're doing, what started this, where you are now, and just kind of open things up, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan, man. Really appreciate it. Super happy you had me on here today. Like you said, you kind of already gave an intro, but we go way back, man. Me and you, we've known each other throughout college and kind of spent a lot of time working together, just getting to know each other and stuff. But as far as me, I'm 25 right now, like you said, living in Virginia Beach, working as a personal trainer. We're anywhere from like 30 to 40 hours a week right now. Really just living out here. Got into e-commerce less than a year ago, drop shipping, print on demand type stuff. And ever since then, man, just really fell in love with it and have a lot of big goals moving forward. And, every day just trying to really make the most out of it. But yeah, again, appreciate you having me on, man.
Absolutely. So your side hustle now is drop shipping, and you're currently a personal trainer at a local gym. Is that right?
Yeah, yep.
So how in the world does it come about that you all of a sudden get into online marketing? It's so far left field from personal training. So what got you into the online kind of world of advertising and e-commerce and I guess really what was like your initial mission that you had set out for with that?
Yeah. So like I was saying, I'm 25 now. Me and Jordan actually met each other in college. So went to school with him, and then I've been in Virginia Beach for 3 years since. So living by the beach really got me like into photography, and it's funny how that started out too, because with Jordan, we were shooting marketing videos kind of as a little side business while we were in college, shooting photos, videos, and whatnot for small local businesses and kind of, selling those as a service. And moving out to the beach here, I already had the experience with a camera and kind of picked that up on the side, just doing photography work and also just shooting like landscape photos. So for me, a big thing for other landscape photographers is like selling your prints online. You see a lot of these guys taking some crazy pictures, some cool stuff, seeing some cool places and going online and trying to sell those photos. So for me, I wanted to sell those photos myself. So as posting and kind of building a personal brand as a photographer, like little companies would reach out to me here and there as I was kind of gaining some traction. And one of them actually was like a canvas company. So they reached out to me and they said, hey, we want to do this giveaway. We pretty much have a canvas service where people can go on, they can upload their own photos, and then they'll print them and ship them directly to them. So, before I really knew what was going on, I'm like, okay, they're basically drop shipping canvases. Like they already have them in bulk. They're just plain standard canvases. Someone will submit their picture to it, get it printed, and it ships right to them. So through doing that, it kind of got me, on my first Shopify store, which was print on demand, trying to sell those canvases. So I went through the process of, finding a supplier, someone that could package the orders, create them and send them out to my customers so that I never had to hold any of the inventory. So through going through that, it kind of got me, learning Facebook ads. So, there's a handful of ways to get traffic to your website and whatnot. And just through searching through YouTube, I found, Facebook ads and watched a bunch of videos and started learning about those. And funny story about that. So yeah, so like I was saying, searching through YouTube, learning Facebook ads, watching videos about how to set up campaigns, how to structure things. It's really just a big learning process, man. And it's really, I got hooked on it from early on. And crazy story, like here in Virginia Beach, really a few years back, like a tragic shooting happened right at the courthouse in Virginia Beach. That's like miles from where I'm living. And a good friend of mine, as a way to kind of raise some money and to help out those that were affected, he decided to sell, some of his own photos, raise some money and donate a lot of those proceeds to the Virginia Beach Tragedy Fund to help a bunch of those people. So I got to talking to him. I was like, hey, man, this is a really good idea. Do you care if I kind of jump in and do something similar myself? And he said, yeah, man, go for it. And, I already had the store set up for myself, the print on demand store, selling the canvases. So what I did was I wrote like a long form ad copy, just explaining who I was as a photographer, my decision to help raise money for all the victims, and that I would be donating the proceeds, to this tragedy fund to really just help out and do my part. And, crazy story about that. Couple weeks into running those ads, ended up doing like 10K in sales in 1 month. Sold over 150 of those canvases, and all just with the goal of donating that money and trying to help out for this fund, for this crazy event that happened right in my area. So that was really like my first taste of e-commerce, man, and it really, really got me hooked from the start, like I said, and from there, like, I've been trying to just start other stores and kind of go into different avenues and just really see how far I can go with it. So,
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's such a good kind of like jump and an interesting way to like get into it. Because I mean, you know, like so many people pour their heart and soul into trying to figure it out and try to figure out everything. But I mean, I think like any good entrepreneur and stuff, it was just a matter of persistence, and the right opportunity kind of showed itself. Not anything of luck by any means, but it's just a matter of you being in the right place, the right time, and you were persistently working at something, and it all kind of conjoined together.
yeah, man, and just to go off that, like just like you're saying, finding a passionate, niche or group, so to speak, is really important, man. Because when you can connect with people like that, it really goes a long way, and that's kind of what led me into the current store I'm running now. Is I figured, hey, I found this passionate group of people just in my area locally. Why not try to take that same approach and start like another store, right? So from there, I pretty much went in and started the store that I'm running now. This was like right in, mid-August, towards the end of September of 2019. So, crazy story with this store, man. Ended up doing six figures in sales before my 25th birthday in February. So I was just around 6 months. This was during like Q4, Black Friday, the holiday season. As you know, it's just crazy when it comes to online marketing and sales. It's probably like the best time to get into e-commerce. Would you say like Q4 just overall?
Oh, it's massive. I mean, there's a ridiculous uptake. Advertising a little bit more expensive, but the revenue to be generated is for sure. It's out there. It's out of this world.
Exactly. No, exactly, man. And that's really why I wanted to jump into it, because again, searching through YouTube, watching videos and whatnot, started to realize like, if there's ever a good time to do it, I think now is the time. So, really cool experience, just learning, especially through, Q4, like we were saying, just super busy online. Learned a lot, had, ups and downs, things of that nature. And, fast forward to where we're at now, February to like May-ish of 2020. Ended up doing the second six figures in sales. So cut that time in half from 6 months of learning. Did another six figures in about 3 months. And now to current day, as long as everything, runs smoothly, projected to do actually six figures this month alone. So it's crazy, man, just how fast things can, take off when you're learning and really just, putting yourself out there, taking action, making mistakes here and there, and then just kind of learning from them. And it's crazy just to see your progression, man, looking back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think speaking on the mistakes, I want to ask you about any like major failures you've had. But I think before that, I want to just quickly explain to the audience what dropshipping is and what kind of goes into it to get it up and running. And I'll speak from my experience, and feel free to just add on to it if I miss anything. But ultimately, dropshipping is selling a product that you don't have in inventory. So to be able to create the business from beginning to end, and this is going to sound much simpler than it actually is, but you're creating a brand, you're creating then a website, and then you're finding products that are sourced from somewhere, doesn't really matter where, and you're marking them up for a certain amount, And then your goal is to just acquire customers through some form of advertising, whether it's influencers, it's your own personal audience like Instagram, it's Facebook ads, it's Google ads. You're then just reselling someone else's product for a higher markup. And that's really the name of the game. And so I think where most people, at least from my experience and what I've seen, they start to have that failure around their first bit of advertising is trying to figure out how to make sales, because getting a website up and getting a brand up is not the hardest thing in the world. I think it's really figuring out how to turn on that switch that makes ads profitable. And so, I mean, whether that's your failure or not, just for the audience's sake, that's pretty much what drop shipping is, and where I think the majority of people see the biggest struggle. So from your experience, have you had any big failures or any things that were monster struggles within starting this business or even running it? Maybe it's more to date that you have bigger problems than you did when you started it. And how have you either overcome them, or how are you overcoming them?
Man, struggles are like the name of the game, dude, especially starting out. I mean, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And I know even you yourself have probably gone through all of these experiences in the past, from, hundreds of customer service emails, people asking where their orders are during those busy times of year when shipping is super slow, Facebook feedback score penalties, suppliers telling you they can do things when really they can't. Really, man, it's constant issues that are coming up day in and day out. And that's really what business comes down to. I feel like in a lot of instances is it's just constantly putting out fires like each day. If you just quit when any little obstacle gets in your way, then obviously you'll never succeed. So I mean, really just tackling everything head on is like the main thing. But more specifically, one of the biggest things I think is being unique and standing out, having something to offer that your competitors don't. So, when people think about drop shipping, it's always kind of the same sort of products you're seeing just cycled through and kind of just run to the ground, and people get bad taste in their mouths from a customer's standpoint, just because, maybe they ordered from someone's store and had a bad experience, and then, a week later they see another ad on Facebook and it's someone running a similar product, and they just already have that bad reputation in their mind. So if you can come in as a seller, as a business owner, and really have a unique, selling, proposition, something that sets you aside, I think that will help you propel towards, some of those issues with getting traction early on and getting sales and just being unique. That's really one of the main things. If you're just constantly, fitting in with everyone else and what everyone else is doing, then obviously you're not going to stand out. So trying to find ways around little issues like that and just focusing on, each day, what can I do today that's going to help me, move forward tomorrow, and not getting caught up in every little obstacle that comes up.
I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, business struggles on a daily basis is, nothing new to really any entrepreneur or business owner of really any sorts. And I'll speak from my own experience, at least with customer service and being in a service-based business, work with different people of different, nationalities and different cultural backgrounds. And so you always have something new, and there's always a different way to kind of overcome it. And on top of working with clients and never knowing what to expect with them, you've then got your own team to manage as well too. And so whether it's a new hire or current hire, and the new hire is just maybe not used to the norms that you have set in the business, or the current hire is starting to kind of fade away, and in that respect you've got to figure out, okay, how do I bring in the next person to replace them and do that efficiently without business procedures being changed. I've been with one of my biggest clients before, and we had to switch our Facebook advertiser, and that was such a stressful time. And we did that within about a 1 week period, but it was an extremely stressful 1 week because I had to figure out how to keep that biggest client's ads profitable and bring someone else completely new into the business that would keep things running just as smoothly while I still continue to operate all of the other many tasks that I have on a daily basis. So, it's there's never, a struggle that I would say is just easy and here's the answer, but that persistence and just continuity of, pushing after it is really the greatest kind of, characteristic and best way of overcoming it, at least from my experience as well too.
Yeah, you don't really realize these things until you're in the trenches doing it. I mean, really, when you're trying to scale and push things further, is really when you want to put different systems in place.
Oh, absolutely. And I guess speaking of scaling, that was kind of the next thing that I really wanted to dive in with you, because And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. I know right now you're doing a one man show kind of thing, which is not bad by any means at all. But it's going from one person to then three people or five people or 10 people. It's a big game changer. Managing a team, leading them, scaling them, being able to manage the things that they want and need. Whether it's I mean, a lot of my employees, they support their family directly. And so, it creates a lot of other complexities. So within that, if you want to kind of speak about your experience now, I think right now, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, if you are just kind of doing everything and stuff for the most part, what plans do you have to hire people to scale the business? And what kind of vision do you have for that, whether it's hiring, scaling, funding, any of those?
Definitely, yeah. So it's funny you ask. I know we talk pretty frequently, but actually just hired my first VA for some order fulfillment for a potential second store that is in the works. So like we were talking before, I have my main, drop shipping, print on demand slash store, so to speak. It's been a little bit of both, but I'm really looking into starting up a second store that is more focused around the print on demand. There's a lot more opportunity for branding, actually building a physical brand as well as, branded products and things of that nature and branded packaging. So, in order to do that, I've taken on a virtual assistant to do some of that order fulfillment. But, outsourcing, of course, is really just going to allow me to spend more time on those, revenue generating tasks instead of spending time on the, monotonous day in and day out type of work that can easily, I can create a standard operating procedure on how to do that task and then outsources to someone else who can handle that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the reason you hire people, right? Is you hire them to be maybe 80% as good as you are at something, but in return, you'll be able to work 120% harder at the other things that you are really good at, whether it's, building that next store or whatever it may be. So, absolutely.
No, that's exactly it. And I'm not gonna lie to you, man. It's hard to do because especially when you start something from zero. I mean, everything there's you have nothing, right? And you build it up all on your own. You want to wear all those hats and do every little moving part that goes in that business. But when it's time for you to have someone else fill that spot, it's like, man, do I really want to give this up? Like, part of me is like, I feel like I need to be doing it, But in order to grow, it's just kind of one of those things that has to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I had talked to you a while back about just in general, like my goal now with my company being an agency is to own businesses, and whether it's acquiring them or it's building them ourselves, it's to essentially become a management company that just owns and manages multiple e-commerce brands. So is that kind of where you're trying to head to? Is heading multiple dropshipping businesses? Is dropshipping what you want to do for 1 to 5 years? Is what's kind of your vision in terms of the next like couple of years from that? Because I know for myself, one of the reasons I didn't get into dropshipping is I just didn't feel it was stable enough. It was so seasonal, or it was you never knew when the product was going to die out. And obviously, you're doing super well with it. So what is your vision for the next 1 to 5 years, specifically with dropshipping and even the current job that you have as a personal trainer?
Definitely. Yeah, the timing on this is just, I'm right in the middle of that in between phase. So even now, just with the kind of volume that I'm at on a monthly, weekly basis in terms of sales and things, I'm getting contacted by different 3PLs, so third party logistics companies that can handle my order fulfillment for me. So trying to move more towards away from drop shipping is definitely the next step towards building a brand, right? Because when you're ordering products in bulk and having them sent to a warehouse to be fulfilled in house essentially or by a 3PL, so they'll handle it for you. It just has way more opportunity. It's one less variable that you have to deal with. So with ordering in bulk, there's opportunity to brand your products, and of course, it's more of a long-term solution. So, drop shipping, it can be like a short-term thing. You see a lot of people kind of get in, get out. But again, if you're thinking in the long term and you really want to have something that's going to be sustainable in the long run, trying to make that transition towards building a brand, I think is what's going to have you be successful in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's smart and that's good. So with drop shipping in general, and I obviously know a few of these answers here, but what skills have you found to be most beneficial to you so far, and how did you develop them? Specifically for drop shipping and getting into the online world. What kind of previous skills did you have that have allowed you to kind of make this a success for yourself?
Yeah. Man, mindset, I would say, is probably the biggest thing. Just as an entrepreneur, as anything in general, just knowing and realizing that you are the person that is responsible for your own success is really, the sooner you start to understand that, no one else is going to do things for you. So the sooner you start taking action towards things, it's really just going to propel you forward. So it's so easy sometimes, just to get caught up in your own thoughts and analysis by paralysis, they say. You just think things through too much, and then you end up doing nothing at all. So I know it's probably similar for you too. Just taking a leap and just going towards doing things each day is really going to pay off in the long run.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. I think that was one that, we've known each other for a lot of years now. I think like 7 or something like that since the beginning of college. And, I think as we started to live together, I think the third year of college and the fourth year of college, we lived together. And so I think the one thing that we both know about each other is that, our grit and our ability of persistence and just getting after something, being able to sit in the library for 12 hours or being able to sit in our room for 12 hours, whether it's studying or it's working or, editing a video, whatever it is, I think that that's something that we know we both have as a great character trait. And I think we both could agree that as an entrepreneur, it's definitely one you've definitely got to have, because the grit and persistence is indefinitely needed to make something or whatever it is that you're getting after successful.
Definitely, man. It translates to so much more than just business, and it can be applied to anything in life, man, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all of that and stuff, do you have any mentors? How have they influenced you, and really, how did you even meet them if you do have one?
Yeah, so right now, I wouldn't say there's one specific person, but I'm always looking to connect with people, share experiences, and just continue growing. And it's funny, I saw this quote the other day. It said, "You'll never be criticized by someone who's doing more than you, right? Because they're too focused on their dreams and they know how hard the journey is." So it just goes to show, man, like if you just surround yourself by people that have common goals, that are always pushing that envelope, there's no reason why you can't propel each other forward and just kind of bounce ideas off each other at the same time. So no mentor specifically, but again, just building that network of common minded people, I think, is definitely going to be beneficial in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, I'm going to put us into a fire round here really quick, and we're going to go through about 3 questions, and then I'll have 1 or 2 very last ones to wrap everything up. And for the fire round, you don't know what these questions are yet. They're not super hard, but you can try to answer them as quick as you can, or if you feel like they need a little bit more of a lengthy answer, then feel free to give it some of that extra juice. So let's jump into it.
Let's go.
So if everything restarted tomorrow and your product just completely started to die on your dropshipping store and everything was over and you've got whatever capital that you've got and you've got the knowledge that you have, what's the next thing that you do?
Look, man, I would definitely take all the experiences that I've learned this far, all the failures, everything that I've gone through up to this point, and just start over fresh, man. Just seeing what can be done over a 6 month, 1 year period is just amazing, and just using all that knowledge and just fast tracking yourself. I don't see any reason why you can't start a new venture tomorrow and just have it flourish with all the knowledge that you've learned from your past experiences.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a good one. So here's the second question. What monetary goals do you have personally, and why do you have them?
Yeah, that's another good question. So for me, I think really, man, just being able to support myself and be on my own, of course, is first and foremost. And thinking long term, it's like if I can create something that will then create opportunities for other people. If I have a business that employs 10, 50, 20 employees, and they're able to come to me, so they can provide for themselves and for their families, that it just stretches far beyond just having a small business from your laptop. I mean, when you start creating opportunities for other people and helping others and just really teaching them and showing them everything I think you can make a much longer impact that way.
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you that's a big responsibility, man. It's definitely something that I'm doing and I'm in the mix of right now, and seeing and having that kind of pressure on my shoulders that I've got to take care of XY people, and knowing that they are supporting their family, especially during COVID, for example. It's like, it's a driver for sure. It's definitely a monster responsibility.
Now more than ever, man, this is a crazy time we're going through.
For sure. So the last question is, if I were to give you $100,000 cash, how would you invest it? if you could not invest it into drop shipping?
Man, $100,000 is a lot. I think I would try to go more of target down towards Facebook ads. So if I could run ads for a company or kind of something similar to you doing with an agency setup, but just more so focused on the ad side of things, because that's something I really enjoy, is kind of looking at data and breaking things down and really just going beyond that and into the psychology of selling and why people click on things and why people do certain things and purchase things. And I think that's just interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different options to choose from. And so whether it's an agency or it's, starting another e-commerce brand, or it's getting into stocks or getting into crypto or whatever it is, there's so many different options. So I think it is a tricky question. And that was one of the questions I had to ask myself last year when I made my first $100,000 and I had it all in the bank. It's like, well, what do I do now? It's such a hard question because you find it to be such an easy question when you're first starting out, but once you actually have it and you've got to start taking action to turning that 100,000 into, say, a million, it's like, well, I don't know what to do actually. So, a big part of it, just like we talked about in the beginning of the talk, is it's, going through those struggles, it's figuring out what to do and just taking risk and getting after it. So yeah, I think your answer is, it's there's not a wrong answer, right? It's just a matter of, it's these kinds of questions that you've got to answer at some point in time anyways, and you've got to kind of have them in your mind. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what the fire round's all about. Is it's questions that you may not be asking yourself today, but they're definitely ones that you should kind of, keep in the back of your mind, just as you're kind of going through those day-to-day processes to reaching your ultimate end goals and stuff that you've set yourself.
For sure, yeah. I think, man, after a while, to a certain extent, it just becomes numbers. When you're looking at revenue and profit and all these things, it's like after a while, they're just numbers, right? So I think for me, man, if I could go back, it'd just be doing what I enjoy. If I can cut out, the headache of all the other things that you don't want to have to deal with and just focus on one thing that you really enjoy doing, I think it'll take you a lot further.
Absolutely. So, one of the last three questions is, what's one piece of actionable advice that the audience can do to make a difference in their life today? Not something like just thinking bigger or working harder, but something that they can actually take action on now that indefinitely worked for propelling you to where you are in your life today.
Yeah, I would have to say 100% is making the shift to creating more than you consume. So I think it was Gary Vee that came up with a quote, something similar to that. You can basically spend 16, 18 hours a day just consuming content, watching videos, reading articles on how to start that business. But if you never take the first step towards starting it, then you're just going to be spinning your wheels. You're going to be stuck in that same place. So just start, just start taking more action. You definitely do want to take calculated actions and calculated risks. So you do want to still be consuming and learning as much as possible, but at the same time, making that shift, right? Because when you're first starting anything, you're going to be consuming content about it, just looking up all the information you can find about it to kind of get yourself your grounding, get your footing, and then from there you want to shift towards taking more action so that you'll actually start moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a great one. I think just getting after it is probably one of the biggest ones. I've had many people ask me how I made it to the Philippines, or what got me started my business, and a lot of the times the answer is really just as simple as I just did it. I just booked the ticket, I just landed here, I just found the first client. It's just I just got after it. That was pretty much it. So I couldn't agree more. So on that note, how can people get a hold of you if they do want to get a hold of you?
Yeah, man. So, my personal brand, my photography brand is still something that, I put a lot of time into. So you can look me up on Instagram. It's just Nick Rizzo, my first and last name. It'll be in the show notes. Facebook is the same. I think that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries. Cool. And the very last question to wrap things up here, who is one other person that you think that I should have on the show that I may not know and has definitely had some really crazy success, or is someone that you think has a really interesting story that's worth sharing?
Yeah, a good friend of mine, and I think yours too, Jordan, from school, Tariq. He ended up being videographer, Mr. Beast right now, huge YouTuber, millions of followers. You remember him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember because Tariq actually was in the gym one day. We were just acquaintances that would say hi to each other every now and then. And then I asked him to hold the video camera for me when I was doing a YouTube video for my personal training brand. And long story short, he ended up getting a camera. He started shooting just like you and me, and got into it. And then, I let go of the videography stuff after a while, and I circled back with him, I think like 6 months or a year later. And next thing I know, he's shooting for Mr. Beast. And yeah, you're right. I think he has like, I don't know, like 30 million something followers now or subscribers on YouTube. So that's actually a really, really good one. I definitely should connect with him. He'd be a great person to have on the story. I mean, going from, I think he was in the medical field, and now he's shooting a video for a 30 million plus YouTuber. So I mean, that's definitely an interesting story. We'll definitely see if we can make that happen.
Man, let me know when he gets on here, because I'm going to be the first to listen. I haven't heard from him in ages, man.
Absolutely. No, it'll be a good one. So I think that's pretty much all for me, Nick. And I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share your story and share some of your experiences about drop shipping in general, and just your life kind of story as well too. So is there any other kind of final comments or anything that you have as well?
Thanks for having me, man. You're my inspiration. If it wasn't for you, man, I don't think any of us would be here.
Oh, absolutely, dude. It's mutual in many ways. So thanks again, Nick, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
All right, man.
Take care. Hey there, hustlers. That's this week's episode of the Hustle Culture Podcast. Thank you again for listening, and don't forget to join us next week for another episode. If you're able to take away any bit of value from this episode and you want to support the channel, there are 3 things that you could do that would massively support me and the team that make all of this possible. The first one is to leave a review wherever you're listening to this podcast at. The second one would be to share it with a friend. And the third one would be to head over to jordanglickman.com, go to the resource tab, and I've compiled all of the best resources and tools that I use, from amassing as many credit card points as I have to structuring my day. I know it will be a great resource to most people listening. That's all for me today, and thank you again for tuning in to Hustle Culture.